A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. In hour number one, I've got two guests for you. Dr. Travian Scott, Associate AD at Southern University. He will join me in hour number one. Of course, talking some 2021 fall football schedule and adjustments to that schedule, COVID-19 protocols for athletics, spring football, and band policy and game day. What does it look like for spring 2021 and beyond? Following Dr. Travian Scott will be HBCU Game Day's Brandon B.J. Jones. I simply now will call him the Carlos Browns Show HBCU football analyst. He'll join me. He'll take a look at a couple of schedules that came out for the fall of 2021, one being Jackson State University and Southern University. Some very interesting schedules, to say the least. Then in hour number two, our two usual guests, Coach Van Pettaway will join me. And then following Coach Van Pettaway will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Quite simply now, I would just like to remember some great individuals that journeyed from this life this past week. Sekou Smith, a JSU alum and also on the SWAC advisory board, passed away this past week. Then Coach John Chaney, a Bethune-Cookman University grad, basketball player, Chaney State, and also at Temple University. The old fiery one himself passed away as well. And then last but not least, the iconic queen, black woman, Cicely Tyson, passed away. Boy, you just remember two achievements, but she had a lot of achievements. One being the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, the movie, and then Founder. But my personal favorite, the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, the movie. Want to remember those who have passed on. Here's what's trending on today's show. A quick list. JSU and Southern University releases their 2021 fall football schedules. And the SWAC announces a ban policy for the spring 2021 football season. A lot of you have weighed in on that via social media. As always, support the Carlos Brown Show via Cash App, the Carlos Brown Show. Also, the Carlos Brown Show social media platforms from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. You can always catch a replay of the show on those platforms. Let me introduce Dr. Michael Prince. He's the producer of the Carlos Brown Show. Dr. Prince, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. How are you today? It's a beautiful day on the hill. I don't know about in Baton Rouge.
Well, it's a beautiful day. Temperature in the 50s right now. Going to reach a high of maybe in the upper 60s. Just been beautiful the last couple of days, but, it should get better.
Well, it's a little hot.
Chance of rain coming later in the week.
It's a little warmer on the hill because them Panthers are so hot right now.
Oh, there you go. There you go. well, let me give kudos. Purview and the men's basketball team, they get all the credit. They are playing very well. And by the way, we're going to see what Coach Pettaway has as his game of the week, but we can simply, very quickly, talk about it.
Oh, yeah, man.
I believe it's Alabama A&M at
PVU, baby.
Prairie View.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's the game of the week on the men's side.
Unfortunately, the women will not be playing because of COVID protocols, but we'll have that tip-off action, man, and I'm excited to see what the end's going to be. I'm going for that 30 consecutive wins, man, at home. Only behind Gonzaga in the nation, but we're not going to talk about that.
Impressive.
Yes, sir.
Impressive. And by the way, we'll have a preview with Charles Edmond, of course. Southern is at Alcorn State.
That
so
should be
far,
a good game
so
too.
good.
That should be a good game too, because what Bussy has been able to do with Alcorn and the tough loss you guys just coming off of, it should be a very good rebound match, and that could easily be a game of the week as well. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
But I think Alabama and them in Prairie View, that would be my first choice as game of the week.
So we'll say 1
side.
and 1A? How about that? 1 and 1A?
No, I'm not going to even say 1A because, let me just get into it. So, Southern basketball. The men dropped 2 games this past week, one being 68-58 to Alabama A&M. And then they followed it up with a last-second putback against Alabama State. They lost 66-64, had a 15-point lead, and some of the Jaguar Nation, they're getting restless. And I don't want to make excuses because I don't do that. Everyone knows Prairie View's playing in these COVID times, Alabama A&M. We've talked about the stoppages, how difficult it is, but it's equally yoked. Everybody's playing under the same conditions. And so some teams are doing better than others. And just quite simply, in my humble opinion, Southern's men's basketball team, they've got to find a way to win on the road. They have not been, and I understand it's not like you've got a roaring crowd on the road because of the times that we're playing in, but still, you've got an opportunity. You've got to improve and get better on the road. If I'm not mistaken, probably the biggest road victory in conference has been when they defeated Grambling State University.
Thus far. And it's just like the formula that Coach Pettaway has always talked about. You want to get that split on the road. You want to come up with that split, and it gets tougher and tougher as you get deeper into the season. And I still think that Woods is doing an adequate job. I know the natives get restless at Southern, and it is what it is when we talk about Jag Nation. But they're not ready to change the locks on him while he's out of town, are they?
No, I don't think so, and I can only speak for myself. But I'm sure there's some disappointment in this men's basketball team. Expectations were high, and still expectations are high. So they got some work to do. As one of my former coaches used to say, you know, what have you done for me lately? You can throw that cliche in there. But that Alabama State game,
that was a tough one.
That was a tough one.
Yes, sir.
Because then you could split on the road, and albeit Alabama A&M, their best time is ahead of them. I mean, basically,
right.
You saw a team last year, all freshmen. Now they're sophomores, and they're playing
They're playing some
freshman
good ball. They've bought into the system, and back to that Alabama State game. I think the most painstaking part of that is that you blew the 15-point lead. And 15 points on the road to give that up, man, that is one of those – that's a game that can beat you twice because you see that you lost the game, then you keep thinking, man, how did we blow that game? And you're in the next game, and then you find yourself chasing the rabbit again. Well,
and physically you can have all of the tools in the world, the athleticism, but now – it's toughness now. Mentally, can you bounce back? And you've got another tough one on the road, on the back-to-back road games. You know, every team has that plateau they have to get over. But let's see what Southern's made of. A huge ball game. I'm not going to say it's a must-win, but it's a must-win. You like that?
I love that. You're so contradictory, man. It's just amazing.
Well, it's a must-win. It's a must-win. Now, however, on the women's side, they gave Alabama State their first conference loss.
Right.
The 60-56 team. And they've had some challenges like other teams in the conference. This team, now they're on a win streak. They just got to develop consistency and they have an opportunity to still achieve their goal.
Right. Right.
So a big 60-56 victory over Alabama State. Alabama State women, I tell you, the surprise maybe team in the conference.
Do you think they're really surprised at this point, though? I mean, I know all the talk was on JSU and Texas Southern, but that's a team that has really been playing well together the last couple of years, and they're not just a bunch of freshmen on the court.
No, but no preseason conference games.
I understand
That's huge, and maybe I could find another adjective besides surprise, but no matter how much talent you have, to only just go against yourself in practice, right, and no pre-conference games. Look, I give all kudos to Alabama State.
No doubt, not knocking what they've accomplished thus far, but when you have a veteran team, a team that knows the system, a team that knows each other, I think that would be a little bit more to their advantage not to be out there, because they know what needs to be done. Now, to execute it at game time, it's a whole different level, and you have to tip your hat to them for that. Now, I'm nervous as the Dickens because that's who Prairie View plays on Monday night, and we're still looking for our first win on the women's side, and it's a tall order coming up against Alabama State. But I got all faith and confidence in thy purple and gold.
Well, no conference wins. Wow.
Yeah.
Growing pains. We shall see. Let's see before we get to our first guest in 4 minutes. Trending, I told you, Jackson State and Southern University releases their 2021 fall football schedule, and also the SWAC announces ban policy for 2021 football season. Let me give you a quote here. Some information first. This upcoming season, the conference will only permit the attendance of home team bands during football contests held at the designated home facility of league member institutions. Visiting teams' bands will not be permitted to travel to regular season contests. Additionally, games designated as classics, along with games identified as neutral site contests, will be played with no bands in attendance from either team. Quote from Dr. Charles McClellan: as we begin to make final preparations related to the kickoff of the spring 2021 football season, it became imperative for us to make comprehensive decisions that take into full account where we are with the current state of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, there you have it. What do you think, Dr. Prince? You got 1 minute, a 1 minute response.
Well, my 1 minute response, I could hear the air come out the sails as I read that announcement the other day, and I think it's going to have an impact somewhat on attendance. I just don't think part of the people coming out to the games is to enjoy the competitions of the band, and if it's only one-sided band competition or lack thereof, I think it's going to have an impact, but I do understand the necessity of eliminating band travel. But it's a hard time. Just let you know where we are right now is tough.
Yeah, not normal times as far as life itself and athletics. And me personally, I enjoy the bands, but I'm there, and not to throw any shade on the band, but I'm there to observe the football game. It's like the football game is the main course. Dessert is more like the band, and maybe the appetizer for some.
The appetizer, and some might even say the adult beverage.
Well, and then I know that there's a big band following, and I'm not sure what percentage of the fans come there just for the band exclusively, and those activities, watching the cheerleaders and the majorettes, that's all part of the ambience, the game day atmosphere. So don't be too hard on them. Again, it's not a normal situation. And there are those that still believe that there won't be a spring 2021 football season. There are those that believe that there should not be one. Just don't have it. Concentrate on the fall, and then in the fall we'll see what happens. Just very interesting. But I will see what Dr. Travian Scott has to say about game day experience, the ban policy in the spring.
Before he comes on, I do not see us getting a full 6 games completed. That's just me. I'm saying that the over-under is going to be 3. If we can get 3 games in the spring, count yourself blessed.
I'll look at the old spiritual song, "One Day at a Time."
Oh, yes.
Sweet Jesus.
Yes, sir. Boy,
it's literally every day. Every day. So I don't know. I'm not going to have a prediction on it. Just take it one day at a time.
Have a little fun, bro.
Oh, I'll have fun throughout this show. Trust me. Trust me on that. But I must take a time out. Appreciate you joining in here on the Carlos Brown Show. The guest menu up first. Coming up next, Dr. Travian Scott, Associate Athletic Director at Southern University. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
You're listening to the Open Mic Broadcast Network located in Prairie View, Texas for news, sports, information, and inspiration 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 7 years of bigger and bigger enrollments, America's grade schools will need nearly 250,000 extra teachers besides those to fill normal vacancies. This great need, plus the growing public interest in education and improvements in schools, make elementary school teaching a more rewarding career than ever, a career that high school and college students should certainly consider. Education holds America's future, perhaps your future.
Drivers and bicyclists both have the right to be on the road and travel safely. And when we're on the road together, safety is a shared responsibility. State law requires drivers to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance when passing bicyclists. And bicyclists should always ride with the direction of traffic and follow all traffic signals. It's safer. It's courteous. It's the law. A message from the Regional Planning Commission Pedestrian and Bicycle Program.
The station designed with you in mind. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
It's the Open Mic Tele-Network line. Dial 720-721-1558, and instantly at your fingertips, you'll have the latest local news, weather, and sports. Need a word of encouragement? Dial 720-721-1558. The Open Mic Tele-Network line features weekly prayer, verse of the week, and local ministries at your fingertips. Everything you need on demand. Dial 720-721-1558. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No internet, no problem. No Wi-Fi, no problem. No app, no problem. All you need to do is dial 720-721-1558 to listen now.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
The voice of student athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. And just beauty to my ears, the human jukebox, which I add the digital in front of it. That's just me. But welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show. First guest on today's guest menu is Dr. Travian Scott, COO, Associate Athletic Director at Southern University. As always, Dr. Scott, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm even better now that I've got the COO on the show and give us some information, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime, I think it's always good when you're amongst friends, and Mike Prince as well.
Oh yeah, he's just a happy guy with his Berger and them Panthers men's basketball team.
I love you, Southern brothers.
That's my guy.
Look,
he knows he's my guy.
Y'all gonna put some respect on my name.
On the hill, I tell you. I don't have to give them kudos so far on the men's basketball side, but we'll have more of basketball talk later on in the show with Coach Van Pettaway and Charles Edmond. But Dr. Scott, big news this past week, huge news, the 2021 fall football schedule was released. What has been the feedback, and what is your initial thoughts on releasing the schedule?
Well, I'll say this. I've been sitting on the schedule for a while, and one of the things that, I talk about, especially in our meetings with our teams, is being able to tell our own story. And so, the schedule originally was supposed to be released on yesterday. And our friends of 55 decided they wanted to release the schedule. And one thing about us is that, sometimes when you have other institutions to release your schedule, our fan base has the tendency to build our schedule using theirs. And so we didn't want to do that. Of course, again, I'm one of those folks who's very intentional about telling the story and representing the brand and pushing forward our agenda and not being, not allowing our story to be told by other institutions. And so we were ready to release as early as last week. I was just holding until we got back from Dallas with that announcement. And so we were able to put the schedule out on Monday afternoon. And I figured, with the schedule that we would get pretty positive feedback. And when we put it out, and the way in which we put it out was met with overwhelming positive response and support. And that's a testament, of course, to our marketing staff, our marketing team, area led by Taylor Stewart, and being able to, again, tell that story in a manner that highlighted the schedule and what we were able to do with the schedule even more. And so we tried to do something non-traditional. I think it worked. It went over really, really well. We're really proud of it. But as I told the staff on Wednesday morning, that the word for the day was momentum. And so we've got to keep carrying that forward. Coach Odom is excited about what's getting ready to happen over the course of the next 4 weeks through this spring and carry it over into the summer and then into the fall, where we think we've got the best home schedule in America.
And I'm visiting with Dr. Travian Scott, COO, Associate Athletic Director at Southern University. And if we can, Dr. Scott, September 4th, you open up at Troy State, FBS team. Then Miles College, September 11th, Pete Richardson Classic. September 18th, McNeese State. I always look at those games with even special lenses. McNeese in Baton Rouge. Then September 25th at Mississippi Valley State, and that opens up the conference season in Itta Bena, Mississippi. Then October 2nd. Now, help me out. There was an adjustment to the schedule. Texas Southern State Fair Showdown in Arlington, Texas. Give me the date and the latest on that.
So essentially what we've done is we had an original agreement to play on October 2nd versus Texas Southern. That's the original conference schedule.
Okay.
That was laid out for us late last year. We also had an agreement. The usual agreement for us to play in Dallas was the third week of October, or the third weekend rather, in October, in conjunction with the State Fair Classic in Dallas, Texas. And so this year's game, as a result of that effort, was scheduled through the promoters for that same date. However, that game will not be played at the State Fair Classic. So we were able to do, because we have an open week on October 9th, and Texas Southern does as well, we just swap by dates. And so we're going to take a bye on October 2nd, and then we're going to play Texas Southern in what is coined now as the Arlington Football Showdown in Arlington, Texas, at the former Rangers baseball stadium. And the name is drawing a blank to me now, but it's a very good venue. They've converted it over from a baseball stadium to a football stadium. They hosted 5 or 6 Division I games last year, 50 high school games last year, and they've moved now to hosting a lot of their high school games within that stadium and taking them out of what we would call Jerry's World, or AT&T Stadium. And so we're right there between AT&T Stadium, the new baseball stadium, and the old in the area in Arlington, close to Six Flags, called Texas Live. And so it's a very festive environment. It's outside of the hustle and bustle of the State Fair. I know that was met with pretty mixed reviews, with some of the distances and some of the obstacles with trying to get through the fair to get to the game and all of that. So we've got now what we feel is an environment conducive more to what we see for a home game, just in a classic environment, so to speak. And so we're really excited about it. Had some extensive conversations with Kevin Granger, the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Texas Southern. He's really excited about it. He joined us on Tuesday morning for the press conference as well. And so we're looking forward to it.
Dr. Scott, is it financially rewarding for Southern University to be in this Arlington Football Showdown?
Absolutely. Of course, we look at what I like to call the economies of scale before we do anything game related. The game this year is our home game, but you have to keep in mind that the agreement that we signed with the organization that's putting the game on was for 2 years, and so we were still contractually bound to fulfilling those obligations this year. And so we had to do everything we could to make sure that we could have that game within the DMV Metroplex. And it's not only is it financially lucrative, but it's lucrative in other ways as well in terms of recruiting. Obviously, Coach Odoms has a tank of gas philosophy, and the DMV Metroplex is definitely within that tank of gas that Coach Odoms preaches about. We've been able to pull a substantial amount of talent out of that area over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, and even in Coach Odom's tenure. We've got one of our most supportive alumni bases, especially in Dallas. Fort Worth actually just chartered their own chapter, and so the Dallas Fort Worth area is booming with Southern University alums. And so, it's a fertile recruiting ground, not only for our athletics program and our football program at large, but for our institution. And so having that opportunity to be able to go to areas like Houston, which we'll be visiting this year on more than one occasion. Of course, we'll be there twice this spring. Dallas with the Arlington Football Showdown and other areas that we'll touch this year will not only benefit our football program, but also benefit our university in terms of our recruiting efforts there as well.
I'm visiting with Chief Operating Officer of Southern University, Dr. Travian Scott. Then, following the Arlington Football Showdown, open date, October the 9th. Then at Arkansas Pine Bluff, October the 16th to 23rd, homecoming. Prairie View A&M in Baton Rouge. Dr. Prince, calm down. and then, Dr. Scott, looking at that Prairie View game, then at Alcorn, FAMU at home, Jackson State at home, open date, and then the Bayou Classic. An exciting, a very good schedule, but on the back end, it is very exciting, but tough as well. But that's the 2021 football schedule with Prairie View at home coming, Alcorn State, FAMU, Jackson State, and Grambling State. Wow, interesting, Dr. Scott. Very interesting.
Let me throw this in there if I could interject.
Yeah.
Of course, the back end of the schedule is probably the most interesting. Obviously, with Prairie View A&M homecoming, obviously Alcorn State moving to the west, and what I call that gauntlet from October 23rd to Thanksgiving weekend. Prairie View is not a cakewalk, nor is Alcorn, FAMU, Jackson State, and Grambling. And so we know what that is. But I would caution anybody from overlooking the front portion of the schedule, because it's my belief. Of course, Troy is who Troy is. We're not going to discount them. They came down to Baton Rouge and beat LSU a couple years ago, took $1 million home, and bragged about it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So we know what that is. But Miles College, Reggie Ruffin, their football coach and athletic director, and I've been talking for some time. And Miles College, not going to be an easy game. Not only that, but Miles College has already confirmed at least 10 fan buses to come down to Baton Rouge. So we expect a very festive environment. We expect a competitive game, especially being the first home game. We know obviously that Miles has an incredible presence in the SIAC, rivaling with Tuskegee. We know that Miles and Tuskegee gives schools in our league traditionally, they give them fits, whether that be Alabama State, Alabama A&M, whomever they choose to play. And we know obviously that Miles College has arguably one of the best bands in America. And so that'll add that additional element to that home game as well. And so all of those things were taken in consideration when we were able to schedule that game. And I believe that's going to be a very interesting game as well. And so moving on to McNeese, obviously with being 2 hours down the road, that's going to draw the interest of everybody from New Orleans all the way to Houston. And so, with McNeese and having, their new coaching staff entering year 2, with all of the recruiting implications involved in that game, and how traditionally we don't have Southland Conference schools on our campuses. And so, this year we do. And so I would just caution before we discount the front end of that schedule that's going to be every bit as interesting as the back end. Now, the back end, obviously, with Alcorn coming to our side, Prairie View being, a traditional thorn in our sides in a very competitive game, Florida A&M and Jackson State being who they are, is going to be what it is. And we expect to be able to pack out Mumford Stadium and for our crowd to present themselves in a hostile way to welcome our opponents. Coach Odoms wouldn't have it any other way. And so all in all, and I haven't even touched Bayou Classic yet. Again, that you can throw the records out the window. Doesn't matter, what our record is, what their record is. They're going to come in and play to their best, and we're going to do that as well. And so we're just really excited. Again, we're going to move toward trying our best, and I'm going to give my best effort as a person that really does the most scheduling and has the autonomy to build these football schedules, to try to do at least 5 home games per year moving forward. But not just have 5 home games to have 5 home games, to have 5 very interesting opponents who our fans would want to see and appreciate.
Yeah, well, it's a dynamic schedule, at least in my humble opinion. And you've broken down the schedule with the extra tidbits that, the intangibles that to me makes it where you should have, hopefully, great fan and alumni participation in these home games in this schedule. And one could say, Dr. Scott, it's debatable, could be the toughest schedule in the conference.
Well, it is, and I'll say this as well. I believe now, under the leadership of Dr. McClellan and our presidents and our athletic directors and senior women administrators, that the SWAC now is going to be very representative of the SEC in terms of the competitiveness and the parity across the landscape from year to year. And so, even with that, we could take out our non-conference schedule, and it'll probably still be one of the toughest schedules in the league, knowing who we have. Now, our opponents on the back end, a lot of them are at home, which plays obviously to our strength. But that only tells you that most likely next year they're going to be on the road. And so, that's going to be what we encounter, and that's not just for us, but the other now 11 member institutions starting this fall. And so everybody's schedule in conference is going to be tough, and that's going to cause us to step up our game. And I'll say this, and I know you got another question, but I'll say this. With this schedule and this model and what we're trying to create, it's very, very important now for the Jaguar Nation to come out and support Southern football and Southern athletics. And the best way to do that is to become a season ticket holder. We're getting ready to put season tickets on sale. We're making a push. We want 10 to 12,000 season ticket holders, and not just season ticket accounts, individual season ticket holders to come out every week to tailgate, to have a good time, and to bring that passion and that energy into Mumford Stadium to help the Jaguars fight to victory. So that's the next goal. We've got some very interesting things on the horizon. Again, A.D. Banks and I have this conversation all the time. He pushes it to our staff, as do I, about the importance of innovation, about the importance of doing something different, and the importance with meshing our traditional fan base with the new generation. So we're trying to meet everybody where they are. The schedule is just a small token to show that. But no better feeling to have those teams represented and to have our fans come out as season ticket holders and help us help them do what we want to do, which is win championships per sport and the Commissioner's Cup in sum. And so, that's my push to the Jaguar Nation to come out, get your season tickets. We'll be putting that information out soon. So get out, buy those tickets, and help cheer the Jags on the victory.
You heard it, Jaguar Nation. The challenge has been put forth by the Chief Operating Officer, Associate AD at Southern University, Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott, we appreciate your time as always. Got a few more things to go over with you. One being COVID-19 protocol for athletics. Can you update us on how that plan is going? And I'm sure it's a everyday plan that has to be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I actually had about a 2-hour meeting yesterday morning with our athletic training staff about testing. So the thing we learned about COVID-19, especially as it relates to NCAA rules regarding testing, is there's two different elements. That's not even touching the departmental stuff. So there's this tier of testing that represents the frequency and the type of test that each sport needs to take. As it relates to the amount of interaction and contact that they would have, right? So football, for example, men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball are what we call Tier 1 sports. And so as a result of being a Tier 1 sport, you have to take 3 COVID tests per week. And that's 3 tests per week. 2 can be what we call rapid tests, or what the scientific term is, antigen tests, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to also take 1 PCR, which is the traditional nasal swab exam. And so we actually sat yesterday and came up with a plan. We do it every month. So we were finishing our February plan and beginning our March planning as it relates to the type and frequency of tests for our sports moving forward. We do have medical partners who come in and test our student athletes according to those frequencies. And that's just on the student athlete side. So most of our sports, all of our sports rather, have to test at least twice, even if they're in a tier that only says they have to be tested once. For example, women's tennis is on their way to ULL in Lafayette. Before they left this morning, their match starts at 12. They tested at 8:30, right? Women's tennis, however, only has to test once a week. But per our departmental guidelines, they test twice. So they PCR a nasal swab on Wednesday, and then they take a test either the day before, 24 hours before, or the morning of their contest. And so by being able to do this, obviously some of the shared spaces that we have, the weight room, the film rooms, and things of that nature, we can preserve through negative testing of our student athletes. Aside from the individual mandated testing per sport, obviously we have policies to wear masks for each of our sports. If they're off the floor, if they're off the field, if they're off the court, as soon as they come off, obviously with folks being able to move around, they have to wear masks. Our staff as well, especially in basketball, to be able to access that floor space, you have to be in the same protocol as the sport that's on the floor. And so with that, I also test 3 times a week. A.D. Banks tests three times a week. Our sports information staff tests 3 times a week. Our marketing staff, in a lot of cases, test 3 times a week. Our academic staff, with the amount of study hall and touches that we have in that space, our tutors, everyone who touches a student athlete has to be relegated to taking these tests to ensure the safety of our student athletes across the board. Now, here's what we can't control: the other teams. Here's what we can't control: if our student athletes are actually in class. We have classes now that some are in class, some are still online, some are hybrid, some are what we term as asynchronous learning, right? A student can log on. We have the ability for all of our classes, even if they're in person, to be delivered in an online format. And so with that, we still have some students who prefer to have in-person classes. Obviously, I think I would be one of those students as well. And so, even though we have obviously the ability to social distance in class, it's just some things that you can't control. And so with that, again, that's why we've upped the level of testing for all of our sports, regardless of tier, to at least twice a week. And so we're doing extra things in the cafeteria. We're grabbing and going. We're centralizing everything we do in terms of how our student athletes live in residential housing. We're putting more of our student athletes in fours. And so the ones who didn't have roommates in their sport, they now do. We're trying our hardest to not mix populations: football with soccer, soccer with tennis, tennis with bowling, bowling with cheer, cheer with softball, softball with baseball. We're trying to separate all of those and try to self-isolate our sports in their residential housing areas, whether they be on campus or off. And so we've taken those additional steps. By and large part, it's working, but we also have a robust protocol for our student athletes who test positive, whether they live on campus or off. The amount of testing that they go through if they test positive, being able to deliver what I call the COVID kit, right, from our medical staff, if and when a student athlete tests positive, how we quarantine those student athletes, and also introducing the policy where now our student athletes have to be cleared by a cardiologist before they can return to play. So I know that the young man at the University of Florida in November had tested positive for COVID. He came out of quarantine. He tested negative. And I think a week or 8 or 9 or so days later, he had a heart-related ailment that could have taken his life. And so we're taking an additional step through our medical partners and through our athletic training staff and our doctors to make sure that our student athletes, once they come out of COVID protocol, that they're also cleared by a cardiologist as part of our medical process. And so we're doing everything we can. We're very proud of the effort of our coaches, our student athletes, our medical staff, and our medical partners. We're trying to get over COVID. Again, we control the controllables, but we also have a policy in place should our student athletes, coaches, staff, anybody who deals with our student athletes test positive as well. Academic center gets clean, 3 times a day. We clean it, open it, close it in the middle of the day, clean it again, close it at 4 or 5 o'clock, clean it again, 4 times rather, have our night study halls, clean it again, and then we do it all the same the next day. Same with the weight room, and the same for all the other common areas, our lobbies and things of that nature. We do interviews with student athletes as part of our marketing initiative, and we're doing anything related to putting digital content and on social media, our YouTube platform that's now come online. We're actually spraying those areas as well before our student athletes interact and engage and after they finish. And so, again, it's quite robust. It's challenging, but the risk of something happening, to our student athletes, their welfare, their well-being, their health, and their safety, we take as our utmost responsibility to ensure that their safety is protected. And so we're taking the necessary steps to be able to preserve their safety.
Yeah, I understand. I'm visiting with Chief Operating Officer, Associate AD at Southern University, Dr. Travian Scott. With all of that being said, man, it just leads into quickly our next topic. Of course, spring football very soon will be in place for Southern University. There's also a ban policy, and then game day in the spring. How do you envision that going for Southern University, the home games?
Much of the same. Obviously, right now the state mandate is 25%. So you're talking 25% in Munford Stadium. We're also going to be able, to group families, so no families or no groups larger than 4s. We're going back and forth on temperature checks. Obviously, having a low grade fever is an indicator of COVID, but not in every case, right? So through the cases that we've seen, it hadn't always been a low grade fever. It could be body aches and things of that nature. So we're going back and forth now on if we're going to do temperature checks. Right now, I think we are. But that's going to warrant some further conversation. Obviously, we're going to socially distance as we open up the lines and being able to help the ingress and egress in the stadium. But we're going to have fewer lines because we need larger spaces for our patrons to be able to walk through, right? So obviously, we're going to have hand sanitizing stations all over the place in the bathrooms and the concourses, by our restrooms, entering the stadium. And so, again, being able to have our base, a smaller crowd or a smaller gathering within our stadium, socially distanced, with masks on and masked up, using obviously hand sanitizers and sanitizing all over the place, but only removing those masks if you're eating and drinking. And so it'll definitely be different. But I think we waited long enough for football. Hopefully we can get all of our games in. That, of course, is yet to be determined. I know we've had some game stoppages and some cancellations and postponements in basketball and the like. But, football is getting ready to roll out. Volleyball, we've got our first home game tomorrow in a little over a year, so we're excited about that. Soccer actually has their first exhibition on tomorrow. And so we've got the full gamut. Bowling has gotten their SWAC roundups next week. And so we got the full gamut of sports on deck. And we've got individual policies and mandates for each facility, obviously, that those sports participate in. Basketball, for example, we've shut down and closed down the lower bowl now. We've used that entire space now for our student athletes to be able to socially distance. We backed up our press rows from the floor. And we've also limited the amount of folks who can sit next to each other and socially distance across the board. We moved our cheer team off the floor to the back end, even though they're in Tier 1 protocol, right, and gets tested 3 times a week as well. Even our dance program up in the crowd, we've been able to move folks away from them, have them socially distance for each other, and wear masks when they're not dancing as well. And so this has been I wouldn't say a difficult effort. It's been a challenging effort, to say the least. But we're up for it, and nothing's more important, obviously, as I said earlier, than maintaining the health, the safety, and the welfare of our student athletes and all the support staff. And so we've been able to do it. We're going to keep doing it. Hopefully now, as we move, into the summer and into the fall, everybody can kind of socially distance, wear their masks. If we're gonna use the what did they just put out, the vaccine, if they're going to vaccinate, that's fine. I guess that's a matter of personal preference. And so we want you to do those things, but we want you to come out safely. And we want you to come out and cheer the Jags on in whatever venue. So that's kind of what we have going in terms of each individual facility, each individual COVID process and protocol. That's what it's going to look like in terms of doing something different with our football program. You'll see our football team socially distanced on the sideline. You'll see the box now open. Instead of now from 25 to 25, I'm even thinking about going as far out as the 15. You'll see less media, of course, in the home boxes, and being able to socially distance, the media away from the individual student athletes, the coaches, and the support staff as well. And so we're taking an all-out effort, like I said, to promote, not to promote, but to protect our student athletes on the floors and in their given fields of play.
Yeah, it is a different time in life and athletics. Last but not least, quickly, the ban policy. What are your thoughts on the ban policy for spring football?
Different. I think anytime you talk HBCU sports, HBCUs at large, you can't discount what the bans mean to the game day environment. The human jukebox, in my estimation, is the best band in the world. No offense, Dr. Prince, but I think they are. And so I had a conversation with our band director on yesterday before the release, came out, and he had an interesting take, and I support him as well.
Disappointment, huh?
Yeah, and
I can understand that.
As he and I spoke, it almost aligned itself with the disappointment we had last year. With me, it reminded me of having a conversation with Coach Woods last year on his way to Birmingham and calling him and telling him that he had to turn around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you really feel it for the seniors, especially for the band program, and not being able to go out on their own terms in terms of being able to represent the human jukebox before they graduate. But he was supportive of it. Our band director, is really supportive. He supports us, and we support him. And so we'll find ways to engage our band more to make sure, that they feel that sense as well as some of those seniors are really starting to transition into life after college. And so, I feel for them. Like I said, it kind of likened itself to having that conversation with the Sean Woods last year with so much momentum entering the conference tournament, on that collision course with Prairie View, Dr. Prince. And so, it's a little different, but our band will adjust. Even if they don't play road games, they're still the best band in America, hands down.
Yeah. Quickly, a comment, a comment from a listener, Michael. He says, "Tell Dr. Scott that Mumford Stadium is our second home," so you can guess who that is, an Alcorn night. And last but not least, can I lead the team out against Jackson State? Look, I'll fire the team up, I'll fire the crowd up, and then I'll just go straight to the medical tent on the sideline afterwards.
I would say this. Mumford Stadium is the home of the human jukebox Southern University football program, and no other team, I don't care where they are, especially if they've resided in the weak east for the last 15 years, can claim Mumford Stadium at home. So make sure you share that with your listeners.
I'm sure he's listening. Shots fired.
Now you gotta come play the big boys week in and week out, and you can't just plan for one or two difficult contests. You got to see them all, and so we're excited about that. And look, we take every opponent seriously, and again, playful banter. I've had some other playful jabs, either shot at us or that we shoot back because we don't back down either. But anybody can claim Mumford Stadium at home. But when you got to go through that gauntlet of the SWAC West, because again, Prairie View is not an easy out. Grambling is not an easy out. Southern will never be an easy out. Pine Bluff is getting better. And so, as is Texas Southern, I don't want to discount them and what they've been able to do in terms of building their program. And so it's a lot different over here when you don't have to work as hard to win on the other side. And so I welcome all comers, as does my coaches and staff, and my band director. I throw him in there. And so come on with it. Let's do it.
Oh my! And that was an Alcorn night. So they're very confident, but they're in the West. But I will hopefully make that journey to the reservation again and see what happens.
Is that Halloween night we play Alcorn? Is that Halloween night?
October 30th. Oh boy, that's the day after my
Halloween weekend.
That's the day after my birthday. That would be a nice treat for a win against the team that always asks, "Do you want that smoke?" But you be quiet back there, Dr. Prince.
You know what? And I agree with Dr. Prince on this one. We take them one at a time. So Right now, our concern is Troy. After Troy, it'll be Miles. After Miles, it'll be McNeese. After McNeese, it'll be Valley, and so on and so forth. And so we'll take them one at a time. Hopefully they do the same. And when we meet on the 23rd, in the case of Prairie View, or the 30th, in the case of Alcorn, the best team that day will win. And so be it. But we're ready.
On that note, we appreciate the time. A lot of information, also some fun, some entertainment. Appreciate it. You enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk again real soon, Dr. Scott.
Look, before I say go Jags for your Alcorn guy, tell him bring the smoke. So bring the smoke and go Jags.
All right. Okay.
Matter fact, let me start. Let me start early. Let me start early because my basketball teams are on their way to the reservation right now. So we're gonna bring the extinguisher down to the reservation at 1 and 3:30 today.
Well, that's a big game.
Dr. Prince, as my student athletes say, I said what I said.
On that note, lock it.
I'm gonna have to pull off with a porky pig. That's all, folks.
and Carlos, tell Avis he's on my list as well.
Avis, the JSU guy. All right. Have a good one, Dr. Scott. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, man. Go Jags.
All right. Go Jags. Go Swag. Unbelievable.
Well, you're talking about on fire.
Well, and Southern fans, Southern alums, and now administrators. What has been said about us? Comfort and cocky. That is true. That is true.
You know what? You gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. And I heard I heard that, like we was on the momentum, like we was last year, leading to the turn. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go again.
Wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute, Dr. Prince.
I've listened.
That was going to be a collision course. The movable object and the resistant force. You've got to agree with that. We won't know because of COVID in the tournament, but you got to admit that was a collision course. Correct?
Yeah, that was a definite collision course.
Wait a minute, wasn't that a collision course?
Yes, it was, sir.
And the best team would have won, right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And you say that's the thing, right?
Best team that day. The best team that day would have won.
Look, we got this fella still on the line. I thought we got.
Oh, we're having fun here.
Yeah, boy, I'm telling you, man, I almost feel like he's bullying us over here. But it's all okay. We hits back. We hits back on this side of things. But no, in all fairness now, I understand the what coulda, woulda been. And all I'm going to say, the last time that I recall you all tried to schedule us for homecoming, all I have to say is two names, Jonta Abear. And Jonta Abear.
He's not there. Those three words.
He's not there. I know he's not there. But
I remember that. Baton Rouge native.
Yes, sir. And all I'm going to say is this here. October 23rd. Can't get here soon enough. I hear and I feel it. And I got Coach Dooley coming on tomorrow night. And I'm going to see what he got to say about
this.
Yeah, that's
Tell him 38-0 before his time.
Yeah. But
I will say this, guys. Coach Dooley's a good friend of mine. I actually spoke to him last week. And Jonta Abear is a Baton Rouge native, so I can't give you credit for that, Dr. Prince.
Well, no. He's a Baton Rouge guy. I give you that. But you all didn't want him, and we took him and made.
That's not true.
Well.
That's not true.
He didn't show up in the blue and gold, Columbia blue and gold. He showed up in the purple and gold and wreaked havoc.
That's correct.
Okay.
But Dr. Prince, though, good things from Louisiana have happened to Prairie View. Coach Smith, Louisiana native.
Keep going.
Dr. Scott played basketball at Southern University. Coach Pugh. Albeit, I'm going to talk to you about those 0 wins in the conference so far. But unusual year.
It's going to turn around. Don't worry about that. Keep on calling.
She's a winner. Keep going.
Mm-hmm. Coach Dooley.
Keep going.
Louisiana native. And I know I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing, Dr. Scott?
Coach Northern before the end.
And here's the thing. Now you summarized all that. And where do they reside now? Most of them still reside in Texas. So, I understand your Louisiana.
Yeah, but there's Louisiana influence.
And we like to thank them Louisiana natives for help supporting the tax system here in Texas. And all that is fine and dandy, so and you must have your home state love. I got you. That's why I call myself a Mo-Texan. I was born and raised in Missouri. I live in Texas, so I'm a Mo-Texan. And with that being said, you still are not complete until you got a piece of Texas in your life. You coming to Arlington. You're coming to Arlington, and he said, "Oh yes, by far, it's a great payday. You get paid in Texas. You get paid attention in Louisiana." Enough said.
Well, can I add this? A listener says, "I love my cool AD."
Oh yeah, he cooler than the other side of the pillar. I ain't gonna give him no slack on that. But man, oh man, I'm glad the AD ain't playing. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad the AD ain't playing. You know.
Well, look, if I don't have confidence in my guys and my program, and that's with all due respect to the other 11 member institutions.
No doubt. You don't need to be in that position. You don't need to be in that position if you don't have confidence. And
that's right.
As a talk show host, if I don't have confidence in my beloved Prairie View A&M University Panthers as an established alumni and supporter, I don't need to have a show. I don't need to have a show. But we're going to sell all this. First, we're going to take care of that hardwood matter. Then we'll take care of the gridiron matter. And then whatever else needs to come on. We got you. We got you, man.
Well, let's not overlook the tennis matter, the softball matter, the baseball matter.
We're going to do a total roundup, as a matter of fact. Everything
and Dr. Prince's sport.
Oh, baseball.
Baseball. Yeah, birds are chirping now.
Hey. You know what? I would still draw my line in the sand and dare you to cross it. And when I lose the draw, I'm going to support my Panthers. Now, I'm going to raise Cain about them because I love them. And I only raise Cain because I do love them and I care. But I'm not going to let nobody abuse thy purple and gold. That ain't happening.
That's right.
That ain't happening.
That's right.
So you, Mr. Baton Rouge man, you know, I know it, and you're Baton Rouge proud. I got you with that old unpredictable, clammy weather that y'all have around in those parts off that bluff. Man,
well, it's like listeners say, I love it. Swag love. It really is at the end of the day.
Anybody else, we'd have to hem them up in a corner and put a good whooping on them.
You mean Ferns would be in a room and Ferns would be moving?
Man,
okay.
Some furniture rearranged. Bernie Mac Salmon cut his head to the white meat. Man, we got to get out of here.
Well.
Travion, get off our line, man. We got to get the show on the go. You see all this commotion you starting, man.
Yes, indeed. Enjoy it, guys. I appreciate the time.
All in love, man. We love you,
always,
man, and great information.
Love y'all too.
And all that. And I would mean it, but you know, good luck until you play us.
Yeah. And look, likewise on this end.
Hey,
I'm headed to the reservation to get the smoke.
All right. Safe travel.
You travel safe, man.
All right.
G Boom says, I ride with Mike Prince on our mighty Panthers.
That's right. G Boom, you got my back, brother.
I'll see him at the Celebration Bowl eventually.
Yes, sir.
We got to take a timeout.
We ain't scared, man. We ain't scared.
We're overdue for a timeout, but guess what? I've got to now squeeze, and I'm not going to squeeze. Let me not say it that way. We're going to visit with Brandon B.J. Jones next, and we'll just move Coach Pettaway back a little bit, and then we'll wrap up the show with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Remember, if you want to support the Carlos Brown Show, you can do it in many ways, but I would appreciate it via Cash App, the Carlos Brown Show, and that's open 24/7. Got a donation last week from one of my colleagues. Appreciate it. But that's the way you can help support some big things are coming for us, the Carlos Brown Show. We're going to do some things, get some more equipment. We're going to do a lot of good stuff, so I need your help on that. Cash App, the Carlos Brown Show. Take a quick time out. When I come back, I'll visit with Brandon B.J. Jones. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
Attention all coaches. Whatever your sport is, we want to tell your story. Dial our 24 hours, 7 days a week message line at 713-570-6736. Leave your game results, team results, and player results on our 24-hour message line, 713 570-6736. Have sports, will travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, serving the community through faith and athletics, the voice of student athletics.
This is Sergeant Stephen Wirt, and this is Safety Talk. Do you know the top reasons why people cause crashes here in the state of Texas? Number one, failing to control speed. Over 140,000 individuals were the cause of a crash due to driving fast. Number two, driver inattention. Over 86,000 people here in Texas were the cause of a crash because they weren't actually paying attention to the roadway. Number three, changing lanes when unsafe. We had almost 42,000 Texans that did not adhere to changing lanes when it was safe on the roadway. Number four, failing to drive in a single lane. And finally, five, fail to yield the right-of-way at a turn. It's your responsibility to ensure once you're driving on the road that you're paying attention and sharing the road. Drive safely. This is Sergeant Stephen Water with DPS with Safety Talk.
Reparation won't be in the form when the conversation first came up. But reparation for Dallas State, Jackson State, and the other HBCU coaches out there, you know what it would be? Let the state come through and pay those coaches like they're supposed to be. Whatever Dallas State can do, whatever Arkansas Pine Bluff coach and Alcorn coach who can't do for the coach, let the state chip in and do what they're supposed to do. All these states. Because it's just not Mississippi that got the shoulder end of the stick across this long length of time. It has been all of them that have gotten the short end of the stick. Whether they admit it or not, there's some challenges out there on all the HBCUs. And now, have they done good? Yeah, they have done good. But have they done what they're capable of doing? No, they haven't. And they haven't because of the funding that they have been receiving.
Our fans need to come out and support these schools. All of our SWAC fans, because attendance is down. So all of our fans have got to come out. We got to support our schools. We got to support our own. It's a message to all the alumnus. Support your schools.
The voice of student athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Coles Brown Show here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. If you're just tuning in, what a segment. It was full of information, and then the gloves came off. But guess what? It's all done in the spirit that is given in love. Yes, Southern fans and alums, they are cocky, arrogant, and confident. That's the way it is. Now I'm going to visit with the next guest of today's show, HBCU Game Day, Brandon B.J. Jones, and also the Coles Brown Show's HBCU football analyst. Good morning. Good morning, B.J. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's a beautiful day, man. So I'm enjoying it, man. Just sitting back with my mom watching a little Burning Mac.
Oh, Burning Mac. Yeah, Burning Mac, man. Boy, he's missed. He's missed. I'll be honest with you. One of my favorite entertainers and comedians. Just a brother. He reminds you of someone you grew up with, and just a funny guy.
Yeah,
just a funny guy. Well, got a couple of topics to talk with you on today's show. Some football schedules have been released, Southern University, but also Jackson State 2021 football schedule was released, and then also some FCS conference realignments. I want to get your perspective on those three topics. BJ, first, the 2021 Jackson State football schedule. It's tough, and it's also a very nice schedule as well. Your initial thoughts on that schedule?
Well, they started off with a bang, going to Miami, to play against Florida A&M. Florida A&M ended 2019 one of the hottest teams in HBCU football. They had a legitimate, legitimate beef to be named HBCU national champs. And they beat North Carolina A&T. They beat Southern. They had a nice resume. They couldn't get over the Bethune-Cookman hump. But what a way to start down in Miami against FAMU, and to come back and to play against Tennessee State. Tennessee State has had Jackson State's number. ULM, Delta State. That first month is going to be very difficult. And then to end the season the way that they ended, Southern, then Alcorn. And then you got a lot sandwiched in between Alabama State, Alabama A&M, sandwiched right there in between. It's going to be a very, very interesting schedule for one Jackson State.
Very interesting, BJ. And October 23rd, I'm going to look at that one as well. Bethune-Cookman comes to Jackson. That I'm almost ready to call a. No, I'm not going to say it, BJ. I was going to use the word that begins with a U, but that's an intriguing matchup as well. BJ, could we say the first month will tell us a lot about the JSU 2021 football program? Just that opening month?
Yeah, I think those first few games will tell us everything that we need to know. You come out, FAMU, Tennessee State back-to-back, ULM, and then Delta State. That's going to tell us, is Jackson State going to be ready to contend on the SWAC, contend in the SWAC? Are they going to be, middle of the road, kind of exactly where Jackson State stands? As a Southern guy, I would much rather play Jackson State early. I'm not really a fan of the late, having Jackson State late in the schedule. We'll get to that later, but just looking at it, we'll know who Jackson State is fairly early.
Well, Southern, Alcorn State on the back end, first month of the schedule. FAMU, Tennessee State at ULM and Delta State, and then in between at Alabama A&M and Alabama State. So, very nice schedule for Jackson State. Your thoughts on Southern University's schedule?
Oh, man. And the schedule was, you look at November, and it's hard. I know we just had Dr. Scott on. It is hard to look at that schedule and not to look at November. November to remember. That's what you can call that one. Anytime you're dealing with FAMU, and we can really go late October, Alcorn, FAMU, Jackson State, and Grambling on the back end of that schedule, you really hope on the front end where, we got Troy, Miles College, Mississippi Valley. Really hope that we're working on that front end to get ready for that back end, because that back end is going to be brutal. If you're a season ticket holder, you like that home slate is one that Mumford Stadium should be packed week in and week out. That's an amazing home schedule that we have for Jaguar Nation. But even in that schedule, man, there are some spots in there when you look at it, it's like, okay, we got to be very, very careful. So overall, I like the Southern schedule. Would like to see Jackson State in that late September, early October spot, but hey, who am I?
Well, you have an opinion. You're a Southern alum. You played for Southern University. Your opinion is very important. And BJ, let's not forget about McNeese. That's a game. And you saw last year, many felt, along with Alcorn, that was a game that was a winnable game. Turnovers. And speaking of that, I kind of made some notes, and I just want run this by you. When you look at Southern University and the quarterback competition, Coach Odom's talked about competition. You got Skelton, Bubba McDaniels, John Lampley. But I say watch also another name, Harold Blood, redshirt freshman. Quarterback, Skelton, improving in the passing game, making his reads. Of course, if a play is not there, you can use your athleticism. But is it Skelton's job to lose in spite of what Coach Odom's talked about as far as that position being open competition?
I think with when you come in as an incumbent starter, you have to do everything to keep your job. I'm of the Pete Richardson school. Well, hey, jobs are open. Once we flip this thing over, all jobs are open. And you have to make sure you're doing the right things to make sure that you keep your job. One thing about the quarterback position is that you have to be an unquestionable leader. You may not be a big rah-rah guy. You may not be a big speech guy. But people have to see that in the way that you prepare, in the way that you carry yourself, that you are a leader. When that does not happen, and you also have some deficiencies on your game that people will say that you're not working on to get better, then it's going to throw up a whole lot of questions. You can't treat the quarterback position different than you do anyone else. So if anybody else, whether it's the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, linebacker, whoever, if they're not fulfilling their obligations, they're going to get yanked as well. Quarterback can't be any different. So I think with Ladarius Skelton, we know what he can do. We know what he can't do. And a lot of what he could and he couldn't do were the same in 2018 and 2019. So I think coming in, y'all have to throw in this new offensive coordinator, new offensive wrinkles. Sometimes you may have somebody who may fit that offensive system a little bit better. So it's going to be, this is going to tell the tale of number 8. Does he learn the things that he needs to learn to get better at the things that he needs to get better at to remain the starting quarterback, or does he get outworked and someone else gets that opportunity? So I think that's what's going to ultimately be the difference there.
Well said. Well said. I'll leave that topic. Enough has been said about that. Competition throughout the ranks. That's the name of spring and fall. Competition. Now, let me move, if I can, to another intriguing topic. Realignment. FCS conferences. Atlantic's Sun. Football. Who's moving? The Southland. You know, and boy, BJ, if I get another question about which teams would we have to watch, maybe we'll get approached from the Southland. What are your thoughts on all of this?
The biggest thing about it, we've heard rumblings of this for about 2 years. When living in Alabama, I knew that Jacksonville State was looking to leave the Ohio Valley Conference. And a lot of schools were looking to leave the Ohio Valley Conference. Reason being is the alpha dog in the Ohio Valley Conference does not field the football team. That's Belmont. Belmont's money and their influence a lot of the decision-making made by the Ohio Valley Conference. Now, football is what, rose the boat, so you would think that it would be somebody from a football standpoint. That didn't sit well with a lot of people in the Ohio Valley Conference. And that really came to a head a few years ago when North Alabama left the Gulf South Conference and was supposed to go to the Ohio Valley Conference. Jacksonville State was almost assured by the Ohio Valley Conference that we're going to bring in North Alabama. Belmont did not want North Alabama, and they blamed it on an academic standpoint. They didn't say academically they don't fit with the league. Belmont did not want North Alabama. A lot of the schools in the OVC did want North Alabama, especially from the football tradition, what North Alabama had accomplished in Division II winning 3 national championships and so forth. And Lord behold, the Ohio Valley Conference says, no, we're not going to take North Alabama. North Alabama goes to the Big South. Jacksonville State is disgruntled. Austin Peay is disgruntled. Eastern Kentucky is disgruntled. And they pretty much told the OVC at that time, the first opportunity we get, we're gone. And Jacksonville State desperately, they wanted to be in the same league with North Alabama because they go back all the way back to the Gulf South Conference days. Even before that, that's a rival for them. They wanted to be in the same conference with them. They have the opportunity, and now Jacksonville State and Eastern Kentucky is now gone. You have Murray State in that same conference who's been trying to get to the Missouri Valley Conference. I don't think that's going to happen. And also Austin Peay has expressed that they're not happy with the OVC. This is going to be the kicker in the OVC. With Jacksonville State and Eastern Kentucky leaving, now the OVC is comprised of those Tennessee schools: UT Martin, Tennessee State, Belmont, Tennessee Tech. They want to make a play to get UT Chattanooga to join those Tennessee schools. That way you have a conference as majority Tennessee schools that can really play on the travel part. That's very important post-COVID. The question is, does UT Chattanooga leave the SoCon to come to the OVC? And if they don't, what do the remaining members in the OVC do? And that really brings us to Tennessee State, which we talked about a lot, being the only HBCU in that conference.
Interesting. With that being said, Atlantic Sun Conference, who will be that mystery team that's going to come, that 16 playing football?
Man, that is a good question. I heard that Austin Peay would be one of those teams to reach out. I've seen that maybe James Madison could be one of those teams. I don't think that anybody really knows right now. And another conundrum with this, we talk about the Athletic Sun and what they did. And not only did they take teams away from the Ohio Valley Conference, they took away teams from the Big South. And you remember when North Carolina A&T left the MEAC, they talked about travel. So when you look at the teams that have left the Big South to go into the Atlantic Sun, look at the teams that's in the Big South now. Monmouth, Robert Morris.
Long travel.
That travel argument has just gone out of the window. So now it looks like from the North Carolina A&T standpoint, you left one burning ship for another burning ship. But you did it in the name of travel, but now that travel isn't as cut down as it once was. So now if you're an A&T alum, are you now questioning that move from the MEAC to the Big South? That's a legitimate question.
Well, oh boy, I could go somewhere with that, but I'm not. Be careful of the decisions that you make, because they can have long-term ramifications. Long-term ramifications. Well, on that note, BJ, we appreciate the time. We'll get you back on a regular schedule when spring football, when we say that, start. And then, of course, fall 2021 schedules are coming out. You can't wait. Any closing comments?
Oh, man, I am looking forward to spring season, man, just to see the teams out. I know a lot that no ban policy put a damper on other people. Not me. I'm there for the ball. You know, the bands is just a plus. So I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to chatting with you, man, as we get started, and we can really talk about who's going to take the spring season and what our teams look like once they hit the field.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, brother, you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Relax, chill, and we'll talk again real soon.
All right, looking forward to it.
All righty. That was Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. here on the Coles Brown Show. Going to take a quick timeout. I mean quick. And when I come back, I've got to visit with the Coles Brown Show's basketball analyst, Coach Van Pettaway. Boy, Hall of Fame Temple coach John Chaney, a Bethune-Cookman University alum, dies at 89. He knew him. I'm sure he'll share a story or two about Coach Chaney, and then also we'll get his games of the week in the men's and women's side of the SWAC basketball game day. You're listening to the Coles Brown Show.
The station designed with you in mind. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
At 17 cents a day, you can make a huge impact on our local and regional high school and college student athletic coverage. We provide local talk shows, live game coverage, and much, much more. But we need your support to continue to move forward. Visit our website today at obnradio.com. Click on the PayPal button, which is safe and secure, and become a listening partner today. Will you become part of the Open Mic Broadcast Network team? Visit that website at obnradio.com and become a listening partner today. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the voice of student athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
Why should we respect our elders, you may ask? It has been common courtesy for decades to honor and respect those that came before you. These seniors have experienced so much life and endured many challenges that they can be beneficial to generations to come. Younger individuals need to learn the significance of spending time with elders and know ageism is an unfortunate trait to have. Ageism is the inclination to think of older people as debilitated and unworthy of attention. This may be a trait growing in the next group of peers, but knowing the wisdom behind all of these elder stories will help them gain knowledge in the future. It's important not only to be compassionate and polite to your elders, but simply show society that ageism is dead. This message was brought to you by FormontGrandSeniorLiving.com, Lauren Gavin, and Open Mic Broadcast Network.
The station designed with you in mind. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Coach Van Pettaway joins me, the Coles Brown Show's basketball analyst. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning, Carlos, and happy to be here.
Oh, I'm happy to have you here. Oh, boy, we got some things to talk about. In our allotted time, but first and foremost, I wanted to get your thoughts on the passing of legendary coach John Chaney. Passed away, journeyed from this life at age 89, Coach.
Right. He meant a lot to the game of basketball. He always fought for the underdog. He always fought for the student athletes. He and John Thompson was some of the first people that stood up against Proposition 48 and 42. He felt like they discriminated against the African-American athletes. So he was a trailblazer. Got his start in Division II at Chaney State, and did an outstanding job with them, won a couple of championships. But what a lot of people don't know, the basketball purists know this, Coach Chaney was one of the best guards ever been out there now. He could play. Yeah, that man had a game. He had a game. And he was a likable person. I got a chance to know him personally, because of Coach Job and Coach Mack and all those people, all of us, it was a reunion. Every Final Four, we always sat down and talked, and with me being the youngster, I tried to absorb as much knowledge and as I could and as much history, to listen at them talk about people that they played with and what happened back then. That was a learning experience for me, and I look forward to that every year. And the one thing that I will tell you about him, Now, everybody liked the way he played defense. Coach Chaney was not going to let you in on his secrets because now I asked a lot. I asked him on several occasions to help me with the 2-3 zone. I said, Coach, I try to play a matchup. He said, well, play it the way you want to play. But he would not give up. He would not give up his secrets about that zone defense. And his reasoning for that is because if you give it out to too many people, then the people going to end up, after so many people get it, then it's diluted and they'll learn how to dissect it. So that was his reason for it. He says, now when I get out of this, I might help you. And that's what that was his thing. But he was a great person, man, a nice guy to be around. And I'll always remember how he treated me. You know, he treated me with respect. I was a young kid on the block. At any time all of us got together, but the respect was there. And I'll never forget that. And at the same time, I helped him with one of the great players that was here in the state of Alabama, Jason Ivory from Gaston. I was recruiting him, and Coach Chaney got onto him late, and he talked to me about him and wanted to know that I think the kid could be coached by him. I said, Coach, you what he needs. I said, Jason is a great player. He's a good person. But I say that fire that you have, I say, I think you will get out of Jason. You can bring out the best of Jason if he comes to you. And he eventually signed Jason, and Jason had a great career up there.
You mentioned the word fiery. And, of course, Coach Chaney, a Bethune-Cookman University alum, so he knew the plight of HBCUs, coached at Chaney State. He's famous for being fiery. Is there something else to that, Coach Pettaway? With everyone knows about John Calipari and that press conference. And I'll be honest with you, Coach, I loved it because he was fiery, but he also had another side. Right, something that maybe some people didn't know about.
Hold up now, this man was a developer of character. He made men. He had his rules, and that's the thing. And I guess that's part of the thing that rubbed off on me. You set your rules and regulations, and you stick by them. You don't win games just to be winning. He said, if we do that, we doing just like the other people. We taking advantage of the kids. So his thing was, you set your rules, and if they break them, you punish them. You know, if I say you suspended for 2 games, you suspended for 2 games. And I was like that during my entire career. He was that way. He had those crazy. Now, he would practice at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You know part of his reason for doing that? He says that if you have to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for practice, that means you're going to take your butt to bed. You're not going to be up all times of the night. You're not going to be out. You're not going to be out in the streets of Philadelphia. You're not going to be out doing all these things because you know that you got to get up. And that was part of his reasoning for doing that, to help make sure he monitored those kids. And the biggest thing that he wanted them to come in there to get an education and to be productive citizens in society. His whole thing was that we're more than just a basketball coach. It's our job to mentor and make these kids better people, better citizens.
Amen. Strong.
Yep.
Strong. John Chaney. Now, John Thompson, they're both still talking basketball now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the spiritual realm.
Oh yes, yes, they are. In fact, I can see it now. Coach Chaney, if he's up there with our Lord and Savior, the Lord got to make sure now he got his feet on the line now. Have your toes on the line, else Coach Chaney going to let him know now.
Yeah. And, and maybe we could do it next week, Dr. Prince. I got a piece off of YouTube where John Thompson introduces John Chaney at the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Well,
and we'll play that next week, maybe about 3 minutes. It is really touching. It's really touching. So, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, now, Coach Pettaway, let's move on. You shared a text message with me about Southern Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M took care of business, and then Alabama State, Southern loses on the road again. I think your text message said Southern has to improve winning on the road. But in your coach, and I'm sure, did you ever have a team lose a game that way on a putback with basically at the buzzer?
I've had the ultimate game to lose. We had a kid to throw a ball three quarters court to win a tournament championship game.
Oh my goodness!
So yes, and I saw that game. You know, some of these schools you can stream their games, and you know I felt for Coach Woods because I saw the struggle that they had against Alabama A&M. So I said, well, I'm going to watch this game against Alabama State. And you know, the guard play, I think, is letting Southern down right now. And over the years, even when I was in the SWAC, the thing with the coaches, we all felt like if you're going to beat Southern, you better beat them at home because for some reason, they just don't travel well. So I don't know. I hope that's not in these kids' head that they can't travel well, but if they get that in their mind, then they're going to be in trouble now because, see, they're on the road again today. So they did lose the 2 games here in Alabama, but the season's not over with. They can recover from this. You want to try to split on the road, so now what that means is he's got to sweep somewhere on the road. That's all you do to balance it all. So see, the season's not over with. In fact, with Southern going down to Alcorn, if it were not for the real big game today, and that's A&M and Prairie View, I would have picked them for the game of the week. But my game of the week on the men's side will be that A&M Prairie View game. And then on the women's side, it's got to be Southern and Alcorn because now you got 2 of the hottest teams in the league on the women's side that are going to be battling it out. Of course, Jackson State and Alabama State, you know, they're tied for that top spot. Well, Alabama State has the lead because they got a tiebreaker. So it's going to be some interesting basketball today. And then on the men's side with Prairie View and A&M, you look at it now. Prairie View is leading the conference in defense, giving up 64 a game. A&M's leading the conference in offense, scoring 77 points a game. A&M has 2 players that are 1 and 2 in the conference in scoring. That's Hicks and Johnson. One is at 20 points a game, the other is at 19.8. And then, of course, Prairie View, the big test for them, you can't just zone in on one person on the PV's team. He's got 3 people in double digits. He's got a total of 5 people that are right at 10 points a game. And they force 17 turnovers. It's going to be real interesting. But the big thing that Prairie View is going to have to do, they got to defend the 3-point line. A&M leads the SWAC in 3-point shooting at 7 threes a game, and they got to be ready for that. But A&M, they did a very good job handling Southern's pressure. Well, today, Prairie View's pressure is tougher than Southern's.
Yeah.
So they got to be ready because they got to be ready. That's my team, but they got to be ready because PV is not going to play. They're not playing at home. I think they got maybe the second longest winning streak in the country at home, and then A&M went into this weekend. There were 5 undefeated teams. Now there's only 4. A&M is one of them. They're still left. So this is a big battle. It's at 3:00. I'll be tuned in.
Yeah, and I will too.
It is the game to see today. And I think both of these teams are doing an outstanding job. PV is just showing that they are a very consistent team. They have a program. You have a program when you can do it year in and year out, and they're doing it.
I would agree. I can't say anything else. I mean, I could take a shot and say they are the savior of Prairie View athletics, men's basketball, but I won't say that, Coach Pettaway. I won't say that. I won't say that. But I give the kudos to them. They are very, very, very tough program, talented. One word, defense. That's what I think of.
Yep. They get after you. They get after you on the defensive end. I mean, and they do it from all aspects. They can go full court pressure. They even pressure you in the half court. And that's what A&M has to be ready for it. They got to be ready for that pressure. Playing in the Baby Dome, they're gonna be getting out to people now.
Yeah, I will check it out. What 3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Okay, that's on the men's side, and the women. I guess at 1.
Yeah, at 1 o'clock. Southern and Alcorn will be tipping it off.
Okay.
No, Prairie View women won't play today now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Prairie View women are not playing today. They won't play until they play Alabama A&M on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alabama State on Monday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Alabama State women, Southern women gave them their first loss.
Right.
Southern women's basketball team, they've had issues like everybody else in the conference. My challenge to them was just to be as consistent as possible. And this will be a huge game, as you stated.
Today,
at the reservation. And historically, that's been a tough place for Southern women's basketball team. Even when Coach Pugh was a coach there, they've gone into the reservation and come out with a loss.
Yeah, it's just something about playing down there, and I've told you all before that is one of the places where my team struggle, or I struggle, at Alcorn. They are it's I guess logistically it's tough getting in there and getting your team settled down, ready to play. But Alcorn's doing a great job for both their men and women's teams. So, things are looking up for Alcorn. We got to watch them now. They've already been doing a pretty good job in football. Now they're bringing along basketball and men and women's basketball. We got to watch them. They're on the rise. They're on the rise on the reservation.
Well, basketball-wise, they have a rich tradition. Things are looking up. And we'll continue to monitor that situation as far as the basketball program at Alcorn State. Well, Coach Pettaway, as always, it has been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed your perspective and thoughts on Coach John Chaney. One of my favorite basketball coaches, along with yours truly. You.
Yep.
I tell you, it's a situation where good people are competing their journey here on this earth, and we just want to show much love and peace to John Chaney, John Thompson, also Cicely Tyson, the iconic Ebony Queen. She passed away. Even had a neighbor passed away last week, and my thoughts and prayers to my neighbor's family. So it's part of the life cycle. It's just part of the life cycle.
Right, and then of course, the young man who I didn't know that's on the advisory board for the SWAC. He transitioned on too. Yeah,
and he Jackson State alum, NBA TV, covered the NBA as well. Just COVID. That is still out there, and we still have to make adjustments, and we still have to live during a pandemic. So,
right, we got to keep our faith in God, and so I want to thank you. I'm just happy to be here, man. To have this opportunity to talk sports, but that COVID thing is still tough, and then for the listeners who are wavering about the shot, if you get an opportunity to take that shot, take the shot. That's all I got to say. We know that the shot works, the vaccination works. We need to make sure that when it's available to us, that we take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well said. Especially for those of us who are at high risk.
Right.
Yeah. We got to be careful. Well, Coach Pettaway, you continue to stay safe, be blessed, and we appreciate you. And much love to you, and we'll talk again with you next week.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe, and God bless.
All right. Thank you, Coach. That was Coach Van Pettaway here on the Coles Brown Show. Going to take a quick time out. When I come back with a preview of the Southern Alcorn State and SWAC basketball, will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. I'm assuming he's going to be live in the basketball complex at Alcorn State. By the way, yes, Alcorn still is going to bring that smoke. Okay, thank you, listener. Appreciate that comment. I really do. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
Your trusted financial partner, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, has some free virtual events and resources that you need to tune into. On Wednesday, February 10th at 6 p.m., they are hosting their Credit Clinic Seminar. Learn tips on how to improve your credit score and how life events impact your score. BVSCU will be hosting a seminar on their AutoLink feature on Wednesday, February 17th at 6 p.m. During the event, chat with AutoLink creator Ed Bourgeois and learn how to use AutoLink to help easily find your next new car. Their virtual Drive Smart event will be held on Wednesday, February 24th at 6 p.m. For this event, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union is teaming up with Ryan Ford, the Waller Police Department, and Liberty Mutual Insurance. During the presentation, viewers will learn how to change a tire, what to do if you are pulled over by police, gain valuable information on the different types of car insurance coverages, and so much more. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union is also offering 5 $2,000 scholarships to graduating high school seniors who are members of the credit union. To review eligibility requirements and download the scholarship application, visit their website at www.bvscu.org and click on the BVSC University tab. For more information or to participate in any of the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union events, visit their website at www.bvscu.org. Upcoming events and registration can be found by viewing the News and Promotions drop-down menu on their website and then clicking on Seminars. Events are free and open to the public.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Going to visit with today's last guest in the guest venue, none other than Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Wait a minute. You sounding all laid back. It sounds like he's chomping at the bit with this game today. Southern and Alcorn State, Charles, a huge matchup as far as standings and momentum and all of that good stuff.
I have to say, anytime Alcorn plays Southern in anything that I broadcast, it brings out the best of me, because I know the Jaguar Nation is going to be intently listening. They're going to be paying attention, and I think it's going to be two good games today with a lot on the line, as you mentioned.
Well, if you can, preview it. Southern, we'll start on the women's side. Southern Alcorn State women pretty much on winning streaks. This will tell us another chapter in this SWAC conference basketball schedule. Southern on a 3-game winning streak. Alcorn coming in 4-2, Southern 4-2 in the conference. Preview that for us.
I think it's going to be a battle of whether or not the Lady Braves defense can impose their will. They last week in the loss to Bama State, they still caused them to turn over 23 times. And I think if that happens today, and if the Lady Braves get some offensive productivity, I think they'll win the game. I think that's going to be huge. So I think the key is going to be the Lady Braves defense for trying to slow down Southern's offense, which in the past that has been the case. It's just a matter of knocking down shots. Nate Kilber was pleased with the shot selection. Shots just didn't go down. We lost our starting center, Deja Mitchell. She got banged up in the game, and that kind of took us out of what we wanted to do down the stretch against Bama State. So I do think that the key for this game is the Lady Braves being able to turn Southern over, create opportunities. And I think Southern wants to slow it down. I think the Lady Braves want to go fast to turn the over. So which team can impose their will? I think that's going to be the team that will win the game. It's
interesting because I got a chance to listen to Coach Gilbert radio show with you hosting, and he was basically, what the interpretation I got was, they're not a big team per se, so defensively they believe they put a lot of emphasis on defense. That kind of gives them an advantage, and so that's what you're saying. They want to impose their will, and defensively they get after people. Thus, that's what they believe will be successful against Southern University women and all the opponents. Am I kind of close or correct on that?
Yeah, you're right on that. I mean, just in a gamesmanship, mentality, most teams want to play chess. In chess, it's a slow down, take your time, find where you want to put your piece type deal. The Lady Braves want to play checkers. You play checkers. We've all played checkers. You move the pieces around pretty quickly, and that's what the Lady Braves want to do. They want to cause havoc on the defensive end, and the more opportunities you get, the more opportunities you have to score. And he feels like that in that type of game, if the Lady Braves could do a little up-tempo defense and create opportunities, then they should be able to outscore Southern and wear them down. That wasn't quite the case against Bama State, even though they had their opportunities. Bama State just whipped us in the post, and that's they're one of the bigger teams in the conference along with Jackson State, and of course we had a player go down as well. So I think that's kind of what, to answer your question, I think the Lady Braves want to wear everybody down defensively, and you get just enough chances offensively to put the ball in the bucket. You should be able to win most games. That's the game plan anyway. It doesn't always work that way, but that's kind of the plan going in.
This is Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Transition over to the men's side. Of course, Prairie View A&M leading the conference on a 4-game winning streak, 4-0. Alabama A&M. I'm going to get your thoughts on that game. Jackson State 2-0. Alcorn State 3-1. Southern 3-2. Preview this men's basketball game. I'll say this: Southern needs a win in the worst way, in a bad way. They need a win, but they're going up against a team that's on a 3-game winning streak, Alcorn State.
Yeah, I just talked with Coach Bussey a few minutes ago. I mean, look, we have respect for every team in the league, but let's look at the teams that we've beaten. Valley, we beat Pine Bluff, and obviously, Bama State. Those are teams. You look at the standings, you see where they are. But now look at what you got coming up. You got a Southern team today that's probably going to come in here a little angry because they lost to Bama State at the horn. Yeah, they should, and they will be. I can assure you that, knowing Coach Woods as well as we do, this team's going to come in here with a little bit of an edge. And Landon Bussey's like, what have we done? We're going to know in the next 9 days. You got the 3 top teams in the league: Jackson, Grambling, and of course today Southern. Southern's got a 7-2 big that we've had problems with in the past in terms of guys of that girth and that size. Valley has one, and teams in our conference have given us trouble when they go big, big, big. And I think Southern's going to go big, 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 and we've had trouble in the post. So that's going to be a key, I think, for us. We got to defend the post and defend it well and stay out of foul trouble. If we do that, then I think we'll have a shot. If not, teams going to wear us down in the post like Bama State did, and they came back 21 down. So I think that will be one of the keys to me, the biggest key is how we handle the post. Guys like Anthony Fairley and Kobe Wilson have to stay out of foul trouble. We've had issues with that from time to time. If Southern wears us down in the post, then it could be a long night for us. But if we defend, play without fouling, I think it'll be a really good game, a really intense game. And, of course, you want to go with the home team. So I'm obviously going with the Braves here at home if that happens.
Yeah, well, a Southern team that, as you put it, will be angry. I look at a team that has to prove themselves that they are capable of winning big games on the road in the conference. Last game against Alabama State, Alabama A&M lost that by 10. Should have had a split, but they didn't, so it is what it is. Both teams need to win to continue to be in the search, have a chance to win the regular season title. So we will see what happens. We'll have the information for you next week. But I think the game of the week is Prairie View A&M and Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M 2-0 in the conference at Prairie View. give us your quick thoughts on that ball game.
Well, you look at A&M. You know, they got scores. You know, if you look at the top 10 scorers in the conference, A&M's got their fingerprints all over that, and so they can score the basketball. But Coach Smith, like Coach Bussey, they preach defense, and they're very tough to beat at home at the Baby Dome. I always look at that when anytime Bama goes to Texas and vice versa, that's always a grind because the travel takes a lot out of you more than anything. I think it'll be a good game, but at the end of the day, I think Prairie View's just so good. I mean, they're deep. They preach defense. I mean, look, they only allowed Valley to score 5 points in the second half last week. I mean, go figure that one. So that just shows you how good defensively they are. Now, even though you might say Valley offensively is not that great, but you got Caleb Hunter, one of the top scorers in the conference. To only give up 5 points in the second half shows you just how Prairie View can lock you down when they're zoned in. So I do think at the end of the day, Prairie View's defense and being at home will outlive the high-scoring Alabama A&M team. They got some scores on that team, talking about A&M. I was looking forward to that game Monday. It was canceled, obviously, but I'm going to go with Prairie View at home. I just think their defense is too good, and I think they'll slow down A&M just enough.
Double-digit win for Prairie View A&M?
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say that. I think A&M will score, but I do think Prairie View will find a way to lock them down late and wear them down late. And I think it'll be 7-8 points, but I do think Prairie View will win.
Yeah, I got Prairie View winning this one as well. Best team on the men's side in the conference, no doubt about it. And it doesn't pain me to say that. Does not. Switching gears, Charles, I have one of these fact-finding questions coming up. When will Alcorn State, matter of fact, Prairie View, or have they? When are they going to release their fall 2021 football schedule?
That's a good question. I have not talked to the athletics director, Derek Horn, about that. And so, to answer your question, that's yet to be determined. You know, Derek Horn is, he kind of mixes and matches and putting that schedule together, and I'm sure probably within the next 30 days or so, I know a lot of teams have their fall schedules out. I think we're just trying to put the finishing touches on it and trying to make sure everything's lined up. I know we'll be in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in the fall. We do know that. And of course, the other games, we'll see which games will be on the schedule in terms of which ones count, which ones don't, and the common opponent. So to answer your question, I can't determine that at this point, but I'm sure in the next 30 days or so we should have our schedule out.
We can officially say now, to be announced. TBA.
That's right.
Well, it should be interesting. Alcorn at that time, well, they're in there officially now in the West. Getting any feedback from Alcorn Braves about moving to the West?
I think a lot of people are excited about it. Based on, I haven't talked to people in a while about fall of 21. People are more concerned about the spring of 21. But we got next month against Alabama A&M starting the season. But I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. It's going to be a grind. I mean, you talk about the wild, wild West. I mean, you're talking about on a yearly basis, got to go through Grambling, got to go through Southern, Prairie View, kind of in the middle of that division. Texas Southern and UAPB, they may be improved in the next few years. There's going to be a grind in the West. And it can wear you down and wear you out if you're not ready. And I think that's what Fred McNair is anxious about. But I think our fans are looking forward to it. You got Southern 2 hours away, Grambling 2 hours away. You're playing them on a yearly basis, home and away. I think a lot of fans are excited about that. I kind of predicted we would be the team moving to the West because we're just centrally located. Some people might disagree. But I had no inside knowledge of that, but it's just my own guess of that it was going to happen. But our fans are looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a really, really exciting fall of 21.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. Well, Charles, the games today, 1 p.m., Alcorn Southern Women, and 30 minutes after the women's game, the men's game?
Yes, sir. We've decided we're going to play our Saturday games at 1 instead of 3 to kind of get teams off the road, get them out of here early so they can, get a bite to eat or whatever. That's been the challenge. Yeah, that's the reason why we changed these Saturday games many, many years ago. And I think a lot of coaches like that. So 1 o'clock, and within an hour, we'll be ready to tip it off.
Well, I will listen to the broadcast, of course. Go Jags. Go SWAC. Go Braves. We'll talk with you next week, Charles. Have a great broadcast.
All right, you guys, be safe.
All right, that was Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Want to thank, in our guest menu, Dr. Travian Scott, Brandon B.J. Jones, Coach Van Pettaway, and Charles Edmond. Producer, Dr. Michael Prince. Don't forget, support the Carlos Brown Show via Cash App. That's open simply 24/7. Cash App, the Carlos Brown Show. Remembering, I'm getting emotional here. Remembering Faku Smith, JSU alum, Coach John Chaney, Bethune-Cookman University alum, and the Ebony Queen, Cicely Tyson. Until next time, make sure you join me next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.